The border crisis certainly has not taken a break over the holidays. We got some brand new numbers courtesy of a DHS source, and we'll get into those right now. Take a look at this. Just in the last 24 hours, just in the Rio Grande Valley sector alone, there have been more than 1,100 migrant apprehensions. Since October 1st, the sector has seen over 136,000 encounters. That is up 160% over the same time period last year. On top of that, the Rio Grande Valley sector has already seen more than 12,500 known gotaways just since October. Meanwhile, in Del Rio sector, the second busiest, there have been more than 800 migrant apprehensions in the last 24 hours. There have been almost 89,000 apprehensions since October 1st. That's up a staggering 238% over the same time last year. And just over the Christmas weekend, the Del Rio sector saw more than 2,700 migrant apprehensions, including the arrest of 3 sex offenders. Brett?
You know, Bill, after all the months you spent on the border, and I know you're heading back that way in a few days, seeing all these challenges this year firsthand, what's the morale like for the Border Patrol down there?
Brett, it's absolutely rock bottom, and we talk to them every time we go out there on these trips. We talk to them out in the field, and their biggest frustration right now is they feel like they've essentially been turned into social workers, always having to do paperwork or processing of the family unit. Sometimes they say they feel like they're Uber drivers just doing transport. Few of them are actually out patrolling, which is what they signed up to do. They joke and tell us they feel like they're the U.S. Welcome Patrol rather than the Border Patrol.
The Remain in Mexico plan, that's being reinstated, but it seems the federal government's kind of slow walking it. Is there a message out now that the U.S. border is still open, right?
Well, good morning. Great to be with you, Ed, and Happy New Year. So, of course, what we saw in 2021, complete disregard from the federal government to take any action to secure the border. We saw so many events that took place in 2021, and there was a complete neglect on their part to safeguard Americans, to safeguard the border. And that's why we continue seeing the influx of illegal immigrants coming across. The numbers have not slowed down by any means. The numbers continue to escalate, and we anticipate going into 2022, the numbers are really going to increase even more historically compared to 2021. Right. So again, the federal government needs to take action. They need to listen to the Americans, the citizens that are along the border, listen to the ranchers, and also work with the governors, work with the border states, Texas, Arizona, and help them and give them the support they need. But also, most importantly, is to support the federal agents that are out there on the field, which they have turned them into processing agents now. So they need more manpower, they need the technology, and they need the infrastructure.
Right. So, you know, when Texas has stepped up, you talk about the personnel down there. Texas stepped up in a way the federal government has not. Your state troopers have pitched in with other Texas agencies, but it's still not enough, right?
Right. So, I mean, 2021, we deployed over 1,000 Texas DPS personnel as well as National Guard to the southern border. We deployed so many state resources, state funding to secure the border. And, of course, in December, with Governor Greg Abbott just launched the deployment and also the construction of the Texas border wall, first ever in Texas history, first ever, I believe, in U.S. history to actually construct its own border wall. So, again, we're taking those proactive measures. But one thing I can tell you, though, that's very challenging is some of those areas, some of those land is federal property, so we cannot take any type of enforcement action. We can't construct any barriers or any type of border wall because the federal government won't allow it. So they need to step in now, going to 2022, fulfill their agreement to follow through with the Remain in Mexico policy, begin construction of the border wall, help the federal resources, the federal partners, and also work with the governors, work with Governor Abbott, work with the Arizona governor, and give them what they need. They need the support, they need the funding. This is not a responsibility of the states. This falls on the federal government to take action.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 1,000 troopers that have been redeployed. That takes them off other areas, other duties that they were doing around the state of Texas for the citizens of Texas.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So we're bringing in resources from other parts of the state to work at the southern border because of the current border crisis. So again, it does leave very minimal manpower in those communities where they need to be there to also safeguard their communities as well. But right now, because of what's taking place and because there is no help or no support from the federal government, our Texas state troopers, as well as National Guard, Texas Parks and Wildlife, all the state resources, state assets are now at the southern border fulfilling this challenge.